In Stalker Clearsky, you play as a muscular scrotum. And what does your muscular scrotum want? He wants what any red-blooded American wants.
It is contagious, but the death rate is pretty low.
To murder. He wants to kill. He wants to kill a lot of people, but most of all, he wants to kill you. The you from a previous game.
Surprise, motherfucker!
To do this, you have to help a bunch of combat armor-wearing nerds do nerd stuff. Why are they so interested in this irradiated wasteland? Because the people of the zone haven't discovered consensual sex yet? No.
But the pussy's good!
Because the zone is no longer just a place. It's a living thing now, and it's triggering its immune response to get rid of you and all your nerd buddies. The emissions are so strong that they can blow the skin right off of anybody, except for you. Now, there are people out there who say that Stalker Clearsky is a bad game with a bad story. I disagree. I think it's a serviceable story that's gatekept by one of the most lopsidedly balanced openings in gaming history. It's a fun little romp through a wasteland, but we're not here to talk about the game. We're here to talk about the myths surrounding Stalker. So let's find out together what it takes to have fun in Stalker Clearsky. The story fades in on Scroto as he guides his fellowship of nerds into the zone when dogs bound out of the bushes and right past them. Strange, Scroto thinks to himself. Okay, wait, what's this guy's actual name? His name is Scar. Really? It's less edgy than I thought. Anyway, Scar thinks to himself, why they run past? I'm good eating. I've got plenty of meat. You find out why they were running once a blowout approaches over a hill and blows Scar's mind and the skin off of his nerd buddies. Scar wakes up. Hey, hang on a minute. This is not my beautiful swamp. And this is not my beautiful rifle. Hey yo, who stole my shit? And then someone comes up and tells you shocking news. You are Ukrainian Neo.
King Kong ain't got shit on me!
And only you can punch a radiation storm in the face and live to tell the tale. I like the opening of this game. Crazy people don't. I don't know why there's a link between crazy people and shitting on this game's story. Sometimes these things are just correlation, but this is fact. It works because it takes something we already know and spins it on its head. It gets a decent amount of mileage out of the first game's world building and pushes it a little further by having more details on the factions and filling in the gaps in SOC by looking at our previous character as essentially an eco-terrorist or Republican. Wait, which one kills the Earth? Oh, right. Before I teach you how to enjoy this game, we have to learn about its quirks. Let's talk about iron sights. I hate them. They get in the way too goddamn much and cover up 90% of the fucking thing you're aiming at. As a result, you sometimes can't tell what direction an enemy's moving in because you can't see their legs. On the other hand, pistols work great, and it makes me wonder why they didn't carry this over to rifles. See, when I aim down iron sights, I expect that it'll make me pinpoint accurate. The iron sights in Stalker games don't work that way, so what the fuck is the point of them? Now, I want you to pay attention to what happens here. Notice where my crosshairs are when I pull the trigger? In America, we call those ribs. But there's blood coming out of this dude's head. Strange. Oh, would you look at that? It's a one-shot kill. That's fucking bizarre. Almost like the spread in this game is fucking ridiculous. You are seeing this, right? That is a headshot. The bullet curved way the fuck up here and hit him in the head, even though I'm pointing at his ribs. Moving on. Bandages. Fuck me. This is a change from the previous game that I hate. Now see, I have this Australian friend who told me, oh yeah, bro, bandages are super rare in this game, and you'll die whenever you get shot because you won't have any. They're not that rare. The problem is not a lack of bandages, it's the fact that sometimes you have to apply 3 fucking bandages to stop bleeding, and you bleed all the fucking time. Like your armor is 1 part Kevlar and 2 parts paper mache. Like after a firefight, you must look like the Invisible Man wrapped head and toe in gauze because you blow through stacks of these fucking things nearly every time you're shot. Unlike in Shadow of Chernobyl, the likely cause of about 50% of your deaths in Clearsky in the opening missions will be because of bleeding because it drains health fast, and it doesn't stop on its own. The Merc must be a hemophiliac because even falling 10 feet causes you to bleed. It's a goddamn nightmare. So how do you stop this horrible nightmare from continuing? Invest in your armor's impact and bulletproof rating at the upgrade station. The bulletproof rating determines damage resist, while the impact rating uses bulletproof as a base to determine if the bullet causes bleeding. Now you won't bleed as much or as badly. Now you can hoard bandages. All this costs money, but I have a solution for that. Artifact hunting. Once you find some of these, the economy then gets fucked because they sell for a lot of money. And my Australian friend told me how to find artifacts too. He said, "Alright mate, here's what you do. You run right up to that anomaly, let it rip you a new arsehole, and then it'll spit you out an artifact." No, bad Australian. Get out of here before I hit you in the nose with a newspaper. Also, this may be a little known fact because every review I've seen on this game has not mentioned this, but the relics actually move around. So a relic could be in a position that you can't get to it without getting your asshole blown out. But if you wait a little while and wait until the beeping gets louder and louder and louder as you stand still, then you'll know when to run right after it. Once you get a better detector, the one that actually shows you where shit is in a radar, it makes relic hunting so much easier. The point is to get as close to the anomaly as possible without walking into it. By doing that, an artifact will be ejaculated onto your feet.
Oh.
Okay, look at an artifact hunt like this. It's a puzzle version of hot or cold. There's a path to the artifact, you just have to suss it out. It's a challenge for a big reward. But every time I had to do this, I found myself slowly inching through, throwing bolts, all the while hoping none of these warping portals to hell will explode and blow my ass into the sky. It's a good addition that adds a lot of tension to something that used to just be a simple pixel hunt. And it is definitely not some step back from SOC. The previous game's artifact hunting was kinda lame compared to Clearsky, so at least that's one thing that it did better than the previous game. The other thing to note is that artifacts seem a lot less plentiful now, so they end up being a lot more precious when you get one. I personally like all these changes, but I really would have liked it if they didn't make every artifact area irradiated or bombarded by telepathic transmissions
to send anti-Semitic lesbian meatloaf recipes to Soupy Sales and Marvin Hamlish.
It's not fun to slowly walk through a field of radiation, losing health the entire time to find an artifact, and if anything, it makes it more trial and error because you'll want to reload a save and run in knowing the path you have to take instead of wasting rad items and medkits. That shit is whack. But again, radiation resist helps minimize this, and by the time you get out of the swamps, you should have an artifact that may reduce the damage from the type of damage a relic is radiating, so swap them in and out based on the situation. Some people believe that the game that you're seeing before you is easier to play on the hardest difficulty. These people believe that the game is easier because you're able to kill enemies with a single headshot. What these people don't realize is that you can kill anyone with a headshot no matter what difficulty you're playing on. The only issue is that your bullets have to actually go in the direction they were fucking fired in, which they don't, no matter the difficulty. I'm gonna fire a bullet into this man's head over and over again. Not for fun, not because I like the feeling of pulling the trigger and seeing the light in someone's eyes go out. It's to prove that difficulty doesn't matter to how quickly someone dies in this game. Okay, good? Let's go. Here is a shot of 4 bullets fired from the same gun on novice difficulty, Stalker difficulty, veteran, and finally master difficulty. Do you notice a difference? Neither do I. One hit kill to the head every time. Well, what about body shots? I knew you were going to ask that. The average number of bullets it takes to kill someone on novice difficulty is 10, but that number shifts around a little bit due to missing a shot here and there, but over the span of about 20 sets of tests on each difficulty, the average was 10 across the board no matter the difficulty. Now it's time to once and for all prove a fucking point and prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Let's look at the actual spread of these weapons, and while we're at it, dispel a myth that gets circulated more than an Instagram model sex tape. I took a modded handgun and an assault rifle and I did some experiments with them. I stood about 6 meters away from this metal sheet and I did 2 sets of tests at this distance and another set of tests at various distances, with one clip being fired into it from a low crouch from the hip and another set from the same stance and distance using iron sights. The assault rifle was put into semi-auto mode so as to not get the extra recoil from full auto. To qualify what I'm about to say, I should mention my background. Now I was in the Army, and in the Army you use weapons that ejaculate high velocity lead into various objects. Our firing range had targets set 300 meters at max when we qualified with our M16s, and we qualified with our weapons with iron sights. No fancy scopes or fucking holographic sights like it's modern warfare, just plain old-fashioned iron sights. Now look, 300 meters is pretty fucking far. For reference, that's about 975 feet, and that's why those particular targets only popped up about 4 times out of 30. Now, having said that, with astigmatism and a 1 in perception, I was able to hit 2 of those targets with an M203, which is an M16 with a grenade launcher under it, with poorly zeroed iron sights. Having this context, you must answer me why firing a bullet from the hip in Clearsky is almost as accurate as firing from fucking iron sights. And by accurate, I mean horrible. Look at this shit. The spread is almost identical and huge, and that's 6 meters away. And look at the grouping, it's terrible. Who the fuck thought it would be appropriate to assume an AK on semi-auto is this inaccurate at range? On full auto? Yeah, absolutely. On semi? Fuck no. These are the wackest firing mechanics I've ever fucking seen. It takes up 95% of the game. And because I know someone's gonna mention it in the comments, an AK-74's effective range is 500 meters. Okay. Now imagine trying to hit a shot from 100 meters. You wouldn't be able to hit shit. That's what rifles are fucking used for. That is literally the goddamn point of them. Long-range assault. To put this into context, the pistol with just 1 accuracy mod is able to have a tighter spread at the same distance than the assault rifle. Seriously, what the fuck? Now, someone on Twitter told me that this game does that thing where the first round out of the weapon is the most accurate, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Look at how the first bullet almost veers completely off. Also, you might notice that the groupings look like they only veer off by centimeters, but occasionally there's these bullets that veer completely off onto the edges of the spread cone. That happens because there's a 20% chance that a bullet will veer wildly. Fuck me. That's the most retarded thing I've ever seen in a first-person shooter aside from random crits. Here's what the same weapons look like at range. I'm about 12 meters away. A meter is about 39 inches rounded down for Americans. Anyway, the rifle has crazy amounts of spread. I can understand if the Merc was shooting his rifle from a wheelchair, but goddamn. The pistol is actually more accurate than the rifle at distance. Jesus Christ, just think about that for a minute. And it doesn't appear that iron sights or hip fire are any more or less accurate, so what the fuck? What's the point of them? And firing from the hip? Yeah, it has the benefit of being able to see your whole target. Like, at close range, I should be pinpoint accurate with a pistol. You know? Like, laser. You know? Laser accurate. Because I'm not playing as some guy who just picked up a weapon. I'm playing as a merc. I assume he's fired one before. It doesn't look like it, but I assume it nonetheless. If the character cannot get better at wielding his weapon, then the accuracy of a weapon should be determined by the velocity of the bullet and how far it can travel in a straight line before gravity pulls it to Earth. Instead of doing something like giving the weapon an effective range, then after that becoming subject to spread as the bullet slows, the developers seem to have made the accuracy penalty a random angle from the ejection point, where some bullets fly really far away, but most bullets stay close to the center with a bit of deviation. But the thing about angles is that even a small deviation grows into a large one the further the bullet travels. So for instance, a centimeter of deviation could result in a bullet completely whizzing past the target 300 meters away. And I mean you miss by a country fucking mile. I used trigonometry, and by used, I mean my wife taught me. My bullets from 6 meters away struck the target 3 centimeters, which is about an inch, from dead center. This means that when the bullet has traveled 300 meters, considering it hasn't been affected by gravity, that bullet will have deviated from my crosshairs by 150 centimeters, missing the target completely. Even if you were aiming center mass in the target's chest, 150 centimeters is about 1.5 meters or about 5 feet. At a distance of 24 meters, which looks something like this, the deviation is so wide that 20 out of 30 bullets fired will miss a headshot. Fewer if the shot is to the body. Are you starting to see what people's problem with the game is? The bullet spread is ridiculous. Now, you miss about 80% of your shots at range, but the enemy will hit you 80% of the time. So no matter the range, fuck you. Now there's a camp out there that believes that this kind of bullet spread is fine because it encourages you to get close to the enemy, which to me kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a gun. But hey, let's agree to disagree, okay fellas? This argument doesn't take into account that the enemy can see you at distances and shoot you at distances before your weapon is even useful or accurate. Their sight range is pretty long for a game with a stealth system, so sneaking is difficult, and most of your engagements end up being long range, due to the fact that 1 or 2 bullets can usually kill you and you need to stick to whatever cover you're nearest to. Another thing to consider is the iron sight deviation. It's almost like the sights on some of these guns aren't properly zeroed. If we take the center grouping of bullets as the average center, that means that the bullets don't even group up where they're supposed to. Most players don't sit around for hours shooting a wall to figure this shit out, I guess. I mean, if they did, maybe I'm not that weird. But if it's true that most people don't, then that's a real problem, because bullets are in fact not landing where the fuck they should, even with the spread taken into account. So if you're defending this system, you're defending a broken system. You could do that, but don't delude yourself into saying it's perfect the way it is. It's not even messaging to the player correct information. In fact, it's misleading the player when you look at the same grouping from iron sights and switch back to crosshairs. The center of the bullet group is dead center with the crosshair center, but the iron sights aren't. It's a fucking programming error. They didn't center the iron sights correctly on the AK, like, god damn, man. A lot of these problems can be mitigated by the upgrade system, which is not only a great addition, but a necessary one. But is it? Like, I don't know if you've realized it at this point, but I spent several minutes just talking about the shooting. That's because I'm borderline obsessed with this fucking shit. See, you little comment section brats, all you need to do is tell me I'm wrong about something, and that simple comment will consume my every waking moment. Anything will do that. Tell me Abraham Lincoln was a transphobe. Tell me Caesar didn't commit genocide on the Celts. Refute anything, and at some point this question will eat away at the back of my brain. Was 9/11 an inside job? And the rage I will feel at the doubt that has been sown into my mind will cause me to lose sleep for several days. Wait, why the fuck am I telling you this? So I went back into Stalker, Shadow, or Chernobyl to do some testing based on a theory I had. I wanted to see if the spread was less extreme with the same weapon in the previous entry. And the results? The groupings are slightly tighter at longer distances, but it still has that random deviation here and there, and the spread is still way too fucking stupid. I think the reason they increased the spread in Clearsky is because of the upgrade system, not because it was too easy in the previous game and they needed to rebalance. It's likely that the upgrade system was so powerful that they increased the spread to balance it, not realizing that it makes the shooting in the first few hours of the game an absolute fucking chore. I don't even know what to say about this. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, or storming the Capitol building for freedom. But notice this, both the crosshairs and the iron sights are dead fucking center to the bullet grouping, so they only fucked it up in the sequel. Okay, so now that we know how to play the game, and we learned how bullets work in the game, we can now learn how to play the game right. And it only took 6 pages of manic rambling. Cool! Set the difficulty in the game to Stalker, or if the bandits are giving you grief, Novice. Master just makes this shit so much harder to do, provably. After you complete the first mission, you get a Clearsky, the one with the tower. Head back to the camp and sell everything and upgrade your AK. I know what you're thinking. I don't even have ammo for this thing. Well, if you don't do it now, when you finally get ammo, your accuracy will be so shit that you won't be able to make any progress. You'll get another set of missions, so make sure that you collect your rewards and put as much money as you can into upgrading your weapon. And when you get the Clearsky armor, invest in Kevlar, or if bleeding is fucking you up, impact as well. I believe the flatness upgrade for your weapon will keep bullets from deviating upward, and the recoil mod will keep it from deviating side to side. All of these upgrades feed into the accuracy tree, so invest in it. You'll notice that you're hitting way more shots. Also keep this in mind. There's a chance that some weapons might have poorly zeroed iron sights like I saw in my test, so make sure you aim down iron sights at the neck or chin with the AK, and test with the other weapons to see if they have the same issue. The bandit camps are a pain in the ass because you only have a shotgun, a handful of rounds for your Viper, and a pistol. The game expects you to engage the first camp, but I suggest you go to the big camp with all the guards in the middle of the map, the farmhouse with all the tractors. Inside this barn is a shelf, and on the shelf is a stack of rifle rounds. You don't even have to fight the bandits if you approach from the back and go in the side door. Once you have the bullets, engage the renegades as much as you want, collect your rewards, and upgrade your weapon. Once you're done with the swamp, head to Sid and the cordon, and instead of taking the insta-kill death trap path, go to the north side of the swamp and exit through there, and sneak across the bridge. By this point, your AK should have the 10% and 20% accuracy mod and Kevlar for your armor. And make sure when there's anomalies nearby that you take out your bolts and hit the O key. This will bring out the relic finder, and when it beeps, you're heading in the right direction. The relics you find sell for a lot of money, and the ones you want to keep are anything that raises health regen, stops bleeding, and increases rad resistances. Those are the best for quality of life in this game, but really, you could do whatever you want. Those health relics really make the game feel like Halo. As a side note, I used my original AK through the entire game. Not once in the entire time I played the game did it ever jam or become in desperate need of repair. And after a 30% accuracy boost and a scope, it was a magnificent fucking beast. Not to mention how it felt to use when I maxed accuracy. The NATO weapons jam constantly, and I mean constantly. They fucking suck. Don't bother with them. Yeah, that first shot accuracy on NATO is nice, and you can do this thing where you nail a headshot and reload real quick fucking pop another one, but it was jamming consistently at least once per clip, and sometimes on the first bullet, and that shit gets in the way of headshots and causes you to get shot yourself. So, in closing, pick a weapon you like, which is the AK, stick with it, and be careful when upgrading to spec into your tier 3 mods, and skip to modding your weapon as soon as you can. That way you're not overly frustrated by the game. So, in the end, this was less a guide on how to play Stalker Clearsky and more a guide to lead you to enjoying the game if you didn't already, because I think it's quite a step up in many ways from the previous game, as well as a step down in others. But on the whole, an improvement on a game that most likely gets its bad reputation from a legacy of... Oh, fuck. I think it crashed. Fuck, I hate this game.